This video is on rounding decimals, and by the end of this video you should be able to round decimals to at least one decimal place. So let's have a look at what that means. We often use decimals when we're working with things like money, time, measurement, and some division that we use. And sometimes our answers are a little bit more accurate than what we need. Let's say I had a really good measuring device and I wanted to measure this line, and I could measure it accurately to 7 decimal places. Now generally a normal ruler will round it off to about 1 or 2 decimal places, and that's all you really need. So when we have something this accurate and we want to ask for something, we probably will generally ask to about 1 or 2 decimal places. That curly equal sign means approximately equal to. Whenever we round off in this exercise, we're going to use this curly equal sign because that means that we are close to the answer, but we're not exactly the answer. But why is it 12.6? Why isn't it 12.5? That's what the first decimal place is. Well, I'm going to show you. But first, we can round to decimals to any number of decimal places that we want. Take this long decimal. It has 8 numbers after the decimal place. Maybe I want to round it to just one decimal place. In this case, it'd be 5.5. But when I round to 2 decimal places, it's 5.53. That 2 becomes a 3. And when I round to 3 decimal places, we get 5.526. That 2 stays as a 2. It gets really confusing, so we need to know what the rules are for rounding. So when we round decimals, we get told how many decimal places we want our answer to. Let's take an example of 7.54. You might want to think of that as $7.54. But we want to round that off to just one decimal place. So currently I have 2 decimals and I just want 1. You might just think, chop that 4 off, it'll be 7.5 and all will be well. Well, you are sort of correct. You see, that number 5 in the first decimal place is where we're rounding off from, but if we want to round off accurately, we need to actually look at the number to the right of it. If that number to the right is a 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4, we are going to round down, which means that that 4 just goes away and it stays as 7.5. If the number to the right is a 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9, we're going to round up. In that case, it means that the 5 will become a 6. So because it's 7.54, that 4 means round down and keep it at 7.5. But why is that? Well, let's take a look at a number line here where we go from 7.50 to 7.60. And you might think of this from $7.50 to $7.60 because money is a good way of thinking of decimals. Now that number 7.54, we want to know which end is it closest to. Is it closer to the 7.50 end or the 7.60 end? Now, when we're talking about one decimal place, we don't actually need that 0 on the end, so we can just get rid of it. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to remove those zeros. You can see from this number line here that 7.54 is closer to 7.5. And if that number after the 5 is a 4, or a 3, or a 2, or a 1, you can see that all of those numbers are closer to 7.5, and that's why we round down if the number is less than 5. But if the number to the right is a 5 or more, it is actually going to be closer to the other end, and we're going to say that that rounds to 7.6. So 7.56 rounds up, 7.57 rounds up, 5.8 and 5.9 will all round up to 7.6 because that is the end that it is closest to. That is the first decimal that it is closer to. Now if we look at the number that we're rounding, it doesn't actually matter how many decimal places I have in my question, because when we round, we only ever look at the decimal place that we're asked to be rounded to. That 7.593475842 on the number line is close to 7.59. In fact, it's just a little bit to the right of where 7.59 would be. But still, it's closer to the 7.6 end than it is to the 7.5 end. And that's why this number will still round to 7.6. So what should you write to help you out with the rounding off? Well, the first part is rounding decimals as a heading. That's really important. The second part is to have our example that 7.54 to one decimal place will be approximately equal to 7.5. Then we'll need the rules. So we check the digit that is in the first decimal place because that's what we're rounding off to. And if that number to the right is a 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4, we will round the digit down. That means that it will stay the same. That 5 will just stay the same and all the other numbers after it will go away. If the number to the right is a 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9, we will round the digit up. And that means that 5 will become a 6. We just add 1 to the digit. Those are the rules, so pause the video, write them down, and have them ready to help you out with the exercise. And that's it. Hopefully now you can round a number to one decimal place and it will help you with your exercise. Good luck.